This is a harrowing tale of Johann Westhauser, who entered Germany's deepest cave and encountered disaster. The Riesending cave system is believed by scientists to be connected to a 50-mile-long labyrinth of 4,000 caves in neighboring Austria, but the location of the link remains a mystery. Despite a massive rescue effort involving over 700 people from multiple international groups, the cave's depth made it impossible to rescue the man. The operation cost nearly €1 million and was unprecedented in its difficulty and complexity. The different groups formed a close bond during the mission, but the danger of future missions in the cave is considered too great. As a result, the entrance was sealed and special permits are now required for entry. This event has opened a new chapter in Alpine history as the search for the undiscovered super cave continues. Johann Westhauser is a 52-year-old scientist from Stuttgart, Germany, who played a vital role in the discovery of the Riesending cave system in Germany back in 1995. He's a seasoned caver and a founding member of the Bad Ken-Stock Cave Research Group, which has explored the cave system multiple times. Johann's passion for discovering the unexplored parts of the cave has motivated him to plan an extensive and dangerous expedition to find a connection to the super cave, taking his exploration of the Riesending cave system to the next level. Johann found the remote feeling of exploring a deep pit cave alluring, but he knew he needed to prepare to survive in such an environment. Traditional rock climbing techniques were not feasible, so Johann and his colleagues had to use an ascender to inch back up to the rope they used to rappel down, a technique known as jugging. The team brought hundreds of pounds of equipment, food, water, lights, batteries, and a first aid kit, knowing that reaching the bottom of the cave required multiple trips by a team. The physical, technical, and mental challenges of navigating the cave made preparation crucial. Johann and his colleagues spent weeks getting into shape and meticulously planned each step of their descent. To reach the depths of Riesending Cave, a boat is essential for crossing a vivid blue lake located about 3,051 feet below the entrance point. Swimming is not an option due to freezing temperatures and near 100% humidity. Johann and two colleagues entered the cave at noon on June 7, 2014. After rappelling down the first deep shaft and reaching the base station, they were filled with excitement and determination to continue their descent down the ropes, navigating the cold and damp cave with little or no light. Despite the unexpected challenges, they persevered, their blood pumping hard as they worked for each breath. Johann had planned the exploration trip for a long time, but as he prepared to descend the second shaft, he realized he was going through the motions and not connecting with his teammates. His laser focus was on the task at hand, knowing the danger involved and how one error in judgment could cost lives. However, he decided to live in the moment and pay attention to his colleagues. As they began to descend, one of their teammates showed signs of shock from the expedition, and Johann realized that they needed to snap out of it to avoid a major safety issue. They continued their descent, but the cave walls became more treacherous the lower they went. The rocks on the walls were jagged and loose, causing ropes to get snagged, and they were unable to see where rocks were falling from in the pitch-black environment. The team faced a dilemma regarding the falling rock issue and decided to proceed with the descent as they had come too far to turn back. However, this decision filled Johann with anxiety, and he began imagining all sorts of potential scenarios. Despite this, he managed to regain his focus as the descent became increasingly dangerous, and they all said a prayer before continuing down the ropes. Eventually, they reached Base Station 3, and although they still had one more challenging descent to make, they would soon reach a horizontal passage, allowing them to rest from the arduous descent. Despite their exhaustion, the team pushed on and made it to Base Station 4, but they were clearly worn out by this point. As they made their way down the long straight passage, everything was going as planned. They'd been in the cave for over 10 hours, and their concentration and decision-making abilities were fading. They finally arrived at base station number 5 after a couple more hours, and the team was ecstatic. This was significant because once they passed the next marker, base station 6, they would be in the unexplored section of the cave. This was the entire reason they were present. Then they realized there was a problem. If they are injured this far into the cave, there's no way for them to escape, and this cave will become their final resting place. At the end of the long straight, the team came to a section of the passage that was made of loose rock. They were expecting this part and decided to push forward to get across and to base station 6. Johann led the way, carefully navigating the slick rocks with one goal in mind: to cross safely. He was doing fine until the rocks started falling from the ceiling and he needed to take cover. In the midst of pitch darkness, falling rocks were impossible to spot, and Johann was struck in the head by a large boulder, rendering him unconscious. Despite his plastic helmet, the rock had cracked it and he fell lifeless to the ground. The team had already descended 3,280 feet down the cave, and one of the teammates saw it happen, realizing that the exploration had to end. The thought of a rescue operation providing little to no hope crossed their minds, causing shock and heart-wrenching feelings. One teammate stayed with Johann while the other went to the surface for help as they mourned the loss of their good friend. After 10 hours, the teammate arrived safely at the cave's entrance. He called mountain rescue after taking a big gulp of fresh air and thanking God he made it. The emergency crew sprang into action and began planning Johann's rescue from deep within the cave. Austrian rescuer Norbert Rosenberger told a German newspaper on Friday that the feat would be more difficult than retrieving an injured climber from Mount Everest's summit. It would be one of the most daring and dangerous rescue missions ever attempted. 3 groups of cave rescuers totaling 11 people entered the cave about 2 days after Johann entered it to find him and the remaining teammate. A cave link system was established to send and receive critical communication signals through the solid rock, allowing text messages to be exchanged between the cave entrance and the accident site. It was difficult to transport people and supplies inside and outside of the cave due to the narrow passages. To some extent, the structure had been made shockproof. A physician arrived on the evening of June 11th. He examined him and determined that he had suffered a minor traumatic brain injury. Later that night, another doctor arrived. Johann was deemed fit to be removed from the cave. Additional fixed ropes, bolts, and footrests were required to secure the cave's paths. At peak times, up to 60 people were in the cave, and 90% of the Bavarian Mountain Rescue's cave rescue equipment had been used. Due to the lack of engines and other machinery, all work had to be done by hand. The rescue crew used their own bodies as a counterweight to the structure in vertical passages. Johann was brought to the top of the cave on June 19th at 11:44 a.m., according to Bavarian Mountain Rescue authorities. He was airlifted to a Bavarian hospital shortly after midday. Johann had to spend about 2 weeks in the trauma center, including an operation the following week for a cheekbone fracture, and then undergo several months of rehabilitation. We'd like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the bell icon, to be notified when we post another bizarre incident.